much for joining me. Obviously I was front row seat to a lot of your games this year, all of your home games, well, actually all your games, as a matter of fact, because we traveled with you guys on the road here at HTSN. So kind of talk about this past year. You obviously have a little bit more time to reflect on your sophomore season. So really just kind of give a quick synopsis and a quick overview of how you would describe yourself as a quarterback and in particular, what you displayed this year in 2020 as a sophomore.
I think this year I would describe myself as more of like a pro style quarterback, more of like a drop back passer. I didn't run too much. I was pretty accurate with most of my passes. Um, I had a pretty strong arm, and I was able to make some throws that I felt some high school quarterbacks couldn't make.
Yeah, you definitely could make a lot of throws a lot of high school quarterbacks could make. And I think, to be more specific, not too many sophomores are able to make those throws either. And you're a young sophomore at that. You're only 15. So talk about sort of that just being that young sophomore, having such a big body for being a sophomore, and being able to utilize that on such a high level playing 4A football in the Whitfield.
Yeah, so last year I was about 6'2", 175 pounds. And then this off season, I put on about 25 pounds, and now I'm 6'4", 200 pounds. And I think that helped me tremendously this year, being able to like break tackles, escape the pocket. And I think overall my size played a big part in my performance this season.
Yeah, you talked a little bit there about being more of a drop back pocket quarterback, but at times we saw you utilize your legs. You have those long strides. It reminds me a lot of myself when I was a young man, being kind of tall. You don't appear very fast, but you cover a whole lot of ground. So talk about that part of your game and how that sort of evolved a little bit. You were able to escape the pocket and make plays on the run and with your feet when you had to.
Yeah, so last year I was very slow on my feet, and I tried to work in the off season to get my feet a little bit quicker. And I know it doesn't appear like I'm very fast, but I tried to do the best I could. I think one game I led our team in rushing yards, so that was pretty cool. And it really helps me whenever I can have the ability to escape the pocket and go on the run.
Yeah, you kind of made me think there as you were talking. This Armstrong system in years past was really predicated on the run. A lot of dual threat quarterbacks. There was that long list of quarterbacks: Michael Lote, Jalen Price, Dawson Porter, who are big mobile guys, but still can make plays with their arms. You really have a much bigger arm than some of those guys, and you're not expected to run as much as them. So being in an offense that changed like that and basically changed around you. How much of a responsibility did you take having to sort of be that pocket quarterback and help Coach Fabian usher in this new offense?
Um, it was tough for everyone at the beginning. This is the first year with our new offense, and I knew that since Coach Fabian wanted to revolve it around me, I had to try my best to and like do the most I could to make good use out of this offense. And I think we were very successful this year using it. I had some great receivers, and that could make plays, and hopefully next year that continues.
Yeah, it seemed like for being a sophomore, the guys around you, especially some of the upperclassmen, had a lot of faith in you. Talk about that a little bit and the responsibility you took on trying to be sort of a young leader and make sure that those seniors were getting the most out of their last years of high school football.
Yeah, I feel like being a young quarterback, that's like the whole purpose of the season is to make it a good last season for your seniors, and having the seniors like uh, having the seniors like be good leaders and um, like enjoy being around you and look up to you. That feels great, especially since you're doing stuff like you're making it a good season for them.
Yeah, and you put in a lot of work. You mentioned it a moment ago before the season. So you came into the 2020 campaign, seemed pretty prepared. And one thing about you, talking to guys that work with you, I know you're working with Joe Bosture from former Michigan State quarterback, QB University. The one thing he said about you is your poise and your football IQ is far beyond what he normally sees out of a sophomore quarterback. So where does that poise and that football IQ. How did it develop, and where did it come from?
Um, my dad was a quarterback in college and high school. He's taught me a lot throughout the years, and this offseason particularly, I put in a lot of work. Our Coach Boister, I'll give him the credit to most of my football IQ. He taught me a lot about reading coverages and like how the defense moves and stuff. So I think this offseason particularly helped me the most with those two things.
Yeah, and besides Coach Bosture, you've worked with some other people. I saw a Twitter video of you working with Phil Dracovic, former Pine Richland standout now at Boston College. So it seems like you've surrounded yourself with a lot of talented football minds. So talk about that too, not just working with Coach Bosture, but also some of the other folks that you've had an opportunity to work with that have kind of played a role in your progression.
Yeah, it's always great to work with someone that like you can look up to and is like playing at the next level. I got a chance to work with like you said, Phil Dracovic and Cole Spencer, who just won the state championship for Pine Richland. They're two great guys. It's always good to look up to someone that you've seen like where they've gone and the progression that they've made throughout high school.
There's so much we could talk about. We're going to talk more about football, but I think a lot of people might just know you as number 4, the guy trotting out there under center for Armstrong. Talk a little bit about Cadin Olsen off the field and some things that about yourself off the field that people might not know, or maybe even something that might surprise folks about you as far as off the field Cadin Olsen.
Off time, I like to play basketball. That's usually what I'm doing if I'm not playing football or working out. During the season, off the field, I watch a lot of film with my dad and Coach Faye. So that takes up most of my time. And then, of course, school, that always comes first. So you got to make sure you have good grades. But in my free time, I enjoy, I don't know, watching TV, watching movies, and hanging out with friends.
Sounds like you're pretty much just a sports junkie all the way through.
Yeah.
And you mentioned basketball, and when I talked to Coach Bosture the other day, he mentioned that he was an all-state basketball player in Michigan during his high school time, and he expressed the importance of playing multiple sports, but did throw in the caveat that you got to be working on football all year round if you want to make it something longer lasting for your career. Talk about playing other sports. I know I've got a chance to watch you play basketball, and you described that's one of your hobbies outside of football. So talk about the importance of playing basketball and how you think that helps sculpt you as an overall athlete and might actually help you on the football field.
So for basketball, I think that gives me extra time in the weight room and during practices. It also helps with my conditioning and footwork because usually I'm down in the post. So I get like almost everything out of basketball. Hand-eye coordination, basketball like helps with everything, and then plus I enjoy doing it. So that's just all around fun.
Yeah, and it's a great thing about you. You got that height that Armstrong has lacked in years past. So I'm sure with you and Isaiah Brown and a couple other folks, not just Isaiah, but Cole as well, are all probably looking forward to the season and making this a nice year for the Riverhawks on the hardwood.
Yeah, we're really like I think we got a chance to maybe win the section this year. So once again, we want to make it a great year for the seniors to leave on. We got Cole and Adam Hudock, our kicker, 2 starters this year, and I think we're gonna have a pretty good season.
Absolutely. Going back to football a little bit, are there any plays or a play in particular that really stands out? There were so many great throws and great connections with some of your receivers this year, whether it was those deep throws to Jesse Hepler or those longer slants to Cole, and the nice passes you had to Isaiah Brown before he was injured. Even Aaron Robb, for instance, he became a nice little target for you there as well. Is there any play or plays that really stand out during the season?
I think the one that sticks out was the first play in the second half against Highlands. Aaron Robb got free on like a go route and took it to the house for 70 yards. That might be my favorite play of the year. Also a couple to Jesse. There was one in the knock game, our first touchdown of the game. I rolled out of the pocket and hit him on a post route for like a 60-yard touchdown. I think those two might be my favorite plays of the year.
Yeah, there are a whole bunch to pick from there, so I kind of put you on the spot because there were so many nice passes. Of course, you had over 2,000 yards, so there were a lot of big plays to get to that number. Um, is there any quarterback, maybe past or present, college or pros, that you feel like your game resembles, or you might try to resemble your game after?
Um, I think my favorite quarterback of all time would have to be Marcus Mariota from the University of Oregon. He made the national championship and then won the Heisman. Then went to Titans and played for the Raiders. I think my game resembles him the most. He's my favorite quarterback, and I've always looked up to him since I was little.
That's an interesting choice. You're picking a backup quarterback. I was expecting something, maybe just a bigger name starter, but I like the Mariota answer because I don't think too many people were probably going to expect that one.
Yeah. My uncle was an alumni director at the University of Oregon. So ever since I was little, I've always had his jerseys and stuff, and I've just looked up to him ever since.
A big Ducks fan then. Are you a Ducks fan?
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome. Always enjoy watching their style of football, and you got a guy like Justin Herbert who just came out of Oregon, who's really lighting up the league right now. So it just goes to show you that not every guy that comes out of Oregon is a dual threat. You got those big pocket quarterbacks like yourself coming out of there now, which is great to see.
Yep, absolutely.
Um, we talked about your mobility, and there were a couple times watching you and calling games. I was just clenching my teeth, just hoping you'd get back up because you took a couple big ones in the pocket and on the run, but you bounce up. And I'll tell you what, watching you, I can say for myself that I would not be bouncing up as quickly as you do. I'd be down for a good while. Talk about just that strength you have and that just kind of that football savvy. You don't mind to get your hands dirty, run the ball, take some hits, hold on to the ball a little bit longer just to make sure you make that pass you want to. So talk about that part of your game and how you kind of play kind of fearless.
Yeah, so I think in the off season, my weight plays a part in that. Being a little bit bigger helps with that. I think I probably shouldn't have taken as many hits as I did, and maybe next year I could try to avoid them a little bit by getting out of bounds or something. But some of the passes I got hit, some of them went for touchdowns. So I think staying in there a little bit longer, resulted in a big play.
You're absolutely correct. There were so many plays where I was too busy watching you get up, and I missed the end result. Your guy scampering into the end zone from 50 plus yards out. So it was kind of a double-edged sword. I wanted to make sure you were all right, but I'm also missing the end result. So I'll have to pay more attention to the end result this year, and not you getting back up off the ground. Couple more questions for you, Cadin. Football's certainly a team sport. So, what are the things that you're going to do in the off season to maybe involve some of the returning players for next season? In particular, maybe some of your receiving targets.
Yeah, so I think the biggest part this year was our line. We had a little bit of trouble getting our run game together. So I think first I'm going to try to get our line in the weight room, make sure that we can go against teams like Plum and Hampton, who have big guys up front. We're going to have to be able to compete against them next year. For my receivers, I think I just have to get on the field and run some routes with them. They also have to get in the weight room because we got a pretty young team and they got to get some weight on. So I think just like running routes with my receivers and getting to know them, how they run, how fast they are, I think that'll be a big help this year for the offseason.
Absolutely. The one thing, it's really hard to tell from the press box when we're watching your games. But from my vantage point, it really seems like you're more of a lead by example guy. I don't really ever see you getting up in guys' faces or anything like that. Maybe that's just being a sophomore. But it seems like you do a really good job of leading by example, and that's sort of your leadership style. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, thank you.
Talk about that though, and why you feel as though maybe it is just better for you as being Cadin Olsen to kind of lead by example and not try to be that hoorah kind of guy.
I just feel like being a young quarterback, you can't really say too much. I mean, you got older guys ahead of you that are stronger, and it's just like nervous to, I don't know.
So might we
So,
see a little bit more of a hoorah Cadin Olsen in the next 2 years then?
I don't know. We'll see. I've never been really got to talk crap or anything, but I don't know.
Well, hey, whatever you're doing, keep it up because it seems like guys really like to go into battle with you, even if you're a quiet leader. Um,
Yeah.
a couple quick rapid fire questions for you. Why number 4? You don the number 4 on your uniform. Why number 4?
Uh, I'm not really sure. I got that number last year. Senior Cole Brown wanted number 2. So I was always number 2 in junior high because my dad was number 2 in high school. And then last year, Cole was a senior and I was a freshman. So he got the number 2 since he was older. So then I had number 4 last year. That was just what was available, and I was just stuck with it, and I plan on sticking with it from here on out.
That was my next question now, because if number 2 is going to become available next year, you're going to make the switch. But you just said you're number 4 now. You're going to stick with it.
Yep.
I like it. I'm an even number guy. I wore 2 and 4 in all my sports in high school, so I can appreciate it. I like those even numbers.
Yeah. My brother, he'll be a freshman next year. He's also number 4. So I think it's gonna be a big decision on who gets that next year.
You guys are going to have a little throwing competition for it, maybe.
Yep.
Do some Oklahoma drills and see who outlasts the other one.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's awesome. A couple things too. You talked about Oregon there. I wasn't expecting that answer as far as one of your favorite college programs, but what are some of your other favorite football teams in the collegiate ranks and also the pros?
Collegiate. Uh, I like Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's a pretty cool school. In the pros, I gotta go with the hometown Steelers.
Good answer.
They're
Got the terrible
doing
towel
pretty
right
good this
there.
year.
I was hoping you went with that.
uh, they're 10-0 this year, so I mean they're doing really well. I can look up to Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, I think they're a very good team.
Crazy to think, because I remember the day Ben was drafted, and you had to have been maybe in diapers that day. I'm not quite sure. You were a pretty young man there. So it's just cool that your whole life has evolved with Ben Roethlisberger's career, and here you are as a high school sophomore getting to watch this old wily veteran. Makes me feel
Yeah, it's
old
pretty
though, because
cool.
like I said, I remember that draft day like it was yesterday. So that's just interesting. You're a young man, and he's hard to believe he's what 17 years in the league now.
Yep.
Couple more questions, Cadin. Now that the season's over, the accolades are starting to come in. One thing that I saw recently was Max Preps rated you in the top 50 quarterbacks of the class of 2023. You're ranked number 20 in passing yards per game at 254. You're ranked number 29 with 23 TDs and number 26 with 2,035 yards. How good does that feel knowing that your hard work paid off and a organization like Max Preps is recognizing that hard work?
I think that's crazy. At the beginning of the season, I never would have expected that. Being with, I don't know how many other high schools are in the country and how many other sophomore quarterbacks there are, to be in the top 50 is unbelievable. This showed that all my hard work has paid off in the off season, and I just got to continue to work hard and get even higher next year.
On the other side of that, the Post-Gazette, a respected regional paper and publication, left you off the Fab 22. Maybe that was just being a sophomore. I'm not sure. But does that light a little bit of a fire under you and motivate you a little bit, knowing that you're getting all this recognition nationally, but your own paper in the region didn't even recognize the great things you did in 2020?
Yeah, it does. That just shows me that I have to work harder, and that was my goal for next year. Make sure I get on that. Um, yeah, my hard work paid off, but it must not have paid off enough. So that means I got to work even harder next year to make sure I'm on that.
Well, I think if you stay down the path you are and keep putting in the work that so many people have described to me, whether it was Coach Bosture, your dad, Coach Fabian, even Ed Morris had recently told me that you've been just so impressive in the weight room. So that's great to hear. Haven't heard a bad thing about your work ethic. Everything has been the polar opposite. You're just a hardworking young man, and I know the results will continue to follow that hard work. So keep it up, and we'll certainly be watching and rooting for you, Cadin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy. Well, for Cadin Olsen, my name is Joe Rhoades. We thank you, Cadin, for joining us today, and we'll see you next time here on HTSN.